StraighTAllDay.com.
Now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is White Derangement Syndrome. Yes, White Derangement Syndrome. Is this a thing? It is now, because I made it up, and I'm going to talk about it here today, exactly what it is, where it comes from, and how it works. So back in episode number 3158, if you didn't hear it, you should go listen to it. I did a 3-part series on what we all know as Trump Derangement Syndrome, something that some of you may have, or some of you may find that series entertaining because you know that other people have it, and you appreciate someone like me articulating exactly what it is and where it comes from. And what it is when people go crazy over anything that Donald Trump says, does, or as is purported to have said or done, or even what people claim he is thinking, because people are so emotionally unhinged when it comes to talking about this individual. We can all agree to that, whether you are one of them or not. Now, today we're going to talk about White Derangement Syndrome, which seems to mostly affect race hustling black people. And they have an angle when it comes to doing this. I'm going to explain that angle. I discussed race hustlers back in episode 1824, a long time ago, because they've been doing their thing for a while now. And I guess we're going to revisit them in a certain way here today. So the topic once again here today is White Derangement Syndrome. So you have Trump Derangement Syndrome. This is White Derangement Syndrome. Point number one, some black people, not all of them, but some of them, some of you listening right now have been indoctrinated into believing that anything that you can do, or that anything that happens, period, whether you did it or somebody else did it, that seems to go against white people or allegedly upsets or annoys white people, must be good for you. And therefore you should or will support it. This is White Derangement Syndrome. This is the basis of White Derangement Syndrome. Anything that I can do if I'm black, as long as what I'm doing angers or annoys or upsets a white person, that makes it a good idea. That is the basis of White Derangement Syndrome. You see this often whenever there is some current event in which there is an angle to pit black people against white people. For example, the thing that's happening right now, or that already happened, but has been a bubbling discussion for a week or two. And by the time you all hear this, it will have been weeks, and the footage may be out of what actually happened. Was down in Texas, where a black kid and a white kid, both in high school, had a confrontation at a high school sporting event. The black kid pulls a knife out of his bag and stabs the white kid. One time, the white kid dies on the scene from the stab. And this became a story because a black kid had the knife and the white kid received the knife poke and ended up dying. So, of course, everyone jumped into this conversation because of the racial dynamics. Had it been a black kid stabbing a black kid, this would not have been news. And most black people would not care. Had it been a white kid stabbing a white kid, this would not be news. And most people in general wouldn't even know that it was a story. But because it was black against white, or had it been a white kid stabbing a black kid, this becomes a story. And what I found is that the race hustlers tend to jump on this and try to find the angle through which to defend the black person, and then go at whatever white people are saying, whatever they're saying about the situation. And we're going to get to see what ends up happening in that circumstance very soon. I've touched on this in a couple episodes back. You want to hear me talk about that particular thing, then you got to catch my live streams where I'm talking more about current events. So whenever there's an event in which there's black versus white, if the angle already exists, then is a built-in situation for people. And if the angle doesn't exist, then the race hustlers are really good at making angles where there aren't any. All right, creating a story where there isn't a story. So 2024 presidential campaign was another good example that all of you know about, where Donald Trump, who's an old white man, who's publicly noted for his financial status, and Kamala Harris, who is still old too. She's like 60 years old, and she's allegedly black. And she, or at least she claimed to be black for the duration of her time engaged in the White House. And she was trying to use that to draw black voters. So this was pitted as a black versus white, male versus female dynamic type of situation. Now, we know how that one turned out. But you can see that many black people were making the entire thing into a black versus white thing rather than a candidate versus candidate thing. So a lot of people, black folks and white folks, white liberals, who I'm not a fan of either, who didn't like the fact that Kamala Harris lost the election they would see someone black, let's say somebody like myself, if I made an objective point, I am not a Trump supporter, I am not MAGA, I am not Republican, I'm not conservative, nor am I liberal, Democrat, Kamala Harris supporter, or any other supporter of any politician or political party. I was just making an objective observation about the situation that seemed to be positive or neutral about Donald Trump or negative about Kamala Harris and her campaign. I would often, almost inevitably, get a response from somebody who says, well, you voted against your own interests. Well, first of all, I didn't even say who I voted for. And secondly, what the hell are my interests? And how are you qualified to even make such a statement? You don't know. All right? It doesn't even make any sense. But this is a form of white derangement syndrome because it is mostly black people, mostly the black race hustlers. But now you get more and more white liberals who are basically calling themselves, I guess, allies with black people. By the way, if you happen to be a white liberal, listen to this. I, as a black man, am not interested in your allyship. Don't need your fucking help. And you, as a white person, do you go to black people and say, help us out? No? Okay, so why do you volunteer yourself to help me when I didn't ask you for it? It's just an open question that you can answer on your own time. But Kamala Harris tried to leverage this whole black versus white thing to the best she could to no avail. Because, I mean, it's only so far she could go with it before making it seem obvious. And in politics, she couldn't quite pull it. She couldn't quite do it. And one reason why it failed is because many black people are tired of the nonsense. Many black people are tired of this whole, well, this person's black, quote unquote. Kamala is quote unquote black. She's not actually black. And this person's white. Donald Trump is indeed white. And you should just vote for the black person because they're black. And don't vote for the white person because they're white. Well, a lot of black people are tired of this. Now, black females still voted overwhelmingly for Kamala. And Kamala still got the majority of the black male vote, but not nearly as much as, let's say, a Barack Obama got in 2008 and in 2012. Kamala was significantly far off from Barack's pace. There are many reasons, but one reason is that black men are tired of having the wool pulled over our eyes and being told that we're supposed to do something just because we're black. Right? I'm not doing it. And there are times where I might do something because I'm black, but this one ain't one of them. And the white derangement syndrome that many black race hustlers have picked up on, yes, it has further indoctrinated some people to go deeper into that, usually those with more feminine energy, i.e. women and males who have not had masculine influence in their lives. But males who do have masculine influence in their lives, even if I may agree with something that the white deranged person says, I don't like the fact that they're trying to manipulate me and tell me you have to do this just because that person's white, so we got to go against them, and this person's black, so you got to go with them. That's bullshit. Give me some actual substance. If you want me on the side of your argument, bring some actual substance to the conversation. All right, many black people are tired of this nonsense because they keep getting told, okay, well, you have to do this because this is what the black thing to do is, and you got to go against this because this is white, and if you don't do that, then you're going against your own self-interest. Again, who are you to tell another person what their self-interests are? The answer is nobody. You are unqualified to do that with anyone. Unless you know what their actual needs are, you're unqualified to tell them what they should do and what they shouldn't do. This is one of the basis of helping anybody is that, first of all, you got to know somebody's goals before you offer them help. You can't offer help to somebody you don't know where they're trying to go. So this is the start of white derangement syndrome, with black people just trying to use your skin color as the reason why you should do anything just because, hey, you're black. So this is what black people have to do. All right, bullshit. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is white derangement syndrome. Number 2, this is the real white supremacy. See, what we've been told about white supremacy is that there are groups of people out there, and there are some groups out there who do actually call themselves I guess, white supremacist groups, but how many people are in these groups? It's not like this is half the country. This is a small pocket of people. When people talk about white supremacy, they're not talking about these little groups. They use the groups as examples, but what they're really talking about is that there are black race hustlers out there who believe that there are white people out there who believe that because they're white, they are superior to every other race just by virtue of being white. And again, the black race hustler will assert that there are white people out there who think this way without any proof or evidence from the white person confirming this alleged mindset. And here's the problem with white supremacy, the same as the problem with racism, is that these are ways of thinking. They are not actions. Racism is not an activity. White supremacy is not an action that you take. It's not something that can be seen with the human eye or measured. Racism and white supremacy are ways of thinking by definition. Now, there are multiple definitions of both of these terms. The first definition is the most common definition. The first definition of racism is a belief that one race is superior to others by virtue of the skin color. Same thing with white supremacy. It's a belief that the white race is supreme to every other race. Again, you cannot assert a belief on another person unless they confirm it. And I've yet to hear a person be accused of being racist and then saying, yes, I am racist, unless they're being tongue-in-cheek or hyperbolic. So if you accuse somebody of being a white supremacist, there's no way for you to actually prove it, because that would require you reading another person's mind. I've yet to meet a human who has that capability. There are none. So this is the real white supremacy. So when a black race hustler says, well, this person's a white supremacist, or this situation that they're mad about is a reflection of white supremacy in the United States of America, the fact that they're even saying it is the white supremacy. Let me explain to you what I mean. When you hear black people crowing about white supremacy all the time, this is allegedly, again, the assertion that black people think that white people think they're superior to everybody else by virtue of being white, as I already explained. The thing is, I much more often hear black people talking about white supremacy and how they think that white people are supreme, more than I ever hear white people actually believing in or confirming this accusation. I hear white supremacy come out of the mouth of more black people than I hear come out of the mouth of white people. I don't hear white people walking around saying we're supreme because we're white. I rarely have I heard anybody say that. Now, again, there may be these small groups that have a certain number of members and they do actually believe that. I don't hear them in the mainstream. What I hear in the mainstream are black people claiming white supremacy more than I ever hear a white person claiming white supremacy. I don't hear the word white supremacy coming out of the mouth of a white person. I hear it come out of black people's mouths all the time. So if you're black and you keep asserting white supremacy, white supremacy, white supremacy, you're the one who keeps making us think about it. So aren't you the one who is holding the white person as supreme, since you can't stop talking about them and you ain't even white? So who's the white supremacist here, them or you? You're the one who is pedestalizing everything white people say, do, or everything about their existence in order to allegedly demonize them. But since you keep bringing it up, aren't you the one who is making these people supreme? I mean, you're the one who keeps them top of mind because you keep bringing it up. That's what I said. Now, again, there's a reason why these people had a title of race hustler. This is their hustle. All right, they're doing this on purpose. They don't want it framed in the way that I'm framing it, but everything that they're doing is done intentionally because they want to bring more attention to themselves. And they know if they talk about black people and internal black accountability, there's only so much attention and money you can get from doing that. But if you make it about white people, there's a lot more attention and a lot more money to be made. That's why they're race hustlers. I explained this back in episode 1824, by the way, for those of you who didn't hear it. On a further note, if you are black and you base your behaviors and your actions around either what white people allegedly are thinking, again, you're not white, you can't read minds, so how do you know? You don't know. Or how you think white people might respond or react to what you do or you say, you are the one who is making the white person supreme. If everything you do is based on how do I think white people are going to respond to me, you are the white supremacist because you hold the white reaction supreme to your own behaviors and your own control over your actions. Okay, so I'm going to do this because it makes white people mad. Okay, you're a white supremacist. There's a former football player. I believe his name is Michael Bennett. His prime years were with the Seattle Seahawks, and at the end of his career, he played for the Philadelphia Eagles, my hometown. And he wrote a book called Things That Make White People Uncomfortable. Let me see if I can find this book. And I remember when he came out with this book, and I thought it was ridiculous when he put it out. And let me see, Michael Bennett. I think his name was Michael Bennett. Let me check. And I don't know if this is him. No, this seems as if there is some guy who writes fiction books who's also named Michael Bennett. Not that guy. This guy, his name is Michael Bennett, and the book is titled Things That Make White People Uncomfortable. And the foreword was written by his brother. He has a brother named Martellus Bennett, and I believe both of these gentlemen played in the NFL. I know one of them played in the NFL, but I think both of them played in the NFL. And the description of this book is, okay, Bennett. So Michael Bennett is, okay, so let's look at this. Just read the description of this book from this guy, which is not that long. A version for young adults also, though, forget about that. Michael Bennett is a Super Bowl champion, a 3-time Pro Bowl defensive end, a fearless activist, a feminist, there you go, a grassroots philanthropist, an organizer, and a change maker. He's also one of the most scathingly humorous athletes on the planet, and he wants to make you uncomfortable. Okay, but he wants to make white people uncomfortable. And by the way, Michael Bennett is a big black guy. He was a defensive lineman in the NFL. This guy's probably 6'3", 280 pounds. He wants to make white people uncomfortable. All right. Bennett adds his unmistakable voice to discussions of racism and police violence, of course, Black athletes in their relationship toward powerful institutions like the NCAA and the NFL, the role of protests in history, and the responsibilities of athletes as role models to speak out against injustice. That's what this book is about. Following the footsteps, listen to this one, following the footsteps of activist athletes from Muhammad Ali to Colin Kaepernick. Bennett demonstrates his outspoken leadership both on and off the field. That's ridiculous. Written with award-winning sports writer and author Dave Zirin. I used to like Dave Zirin, but he turned very, very woke. Is a sports book for our turbulent times, a memoir and a manifesto as hilarious and engaging as it is illuminating. This is nonsense. So I remember when this guy came out with this book, because he was doing interviews and things like that. This is white supremacy. I'm bringing all that up to say this. This is white supremacy. So you're a black man and you got a publishing deal. I'm assuming this went through a traditional publisher. I don't see who published this book. So you get a publishing deal. Who published this book? Let's see. Haymarket Books. I don't know if that's a traditional publisher or I don't know what type of publisher this is. But this guy gets someone who says, okay, we're gonna green light you putting a book out there. This guy puts out a book and he decides, big black guy decides to write a book about how do I make white people uncomfortable. Let me ask you a question. How many white people do you think read the book? He's probably a whole bunch of black people read this book, but he was writing it to make white people uncomfortable. That is white supremacy. If you're black and you're centering your behaviors around what's going to get a white person's response, you are a white supremacist. That's white supremacy right there. You are making them supreme in your life because you could have wrote a book about anything you wanted to. You decided to write a book about how do I get the response of white people. All right, I thought you were all about helping black people out. Why are you trying to get white people's attention if you're black and you're trying to help black people? Because the book wasn't about black people. The book, that's race hustling because you're trying to get white people's attention because that's the only way you're really going to get any traction. Because if you just wrote a book to and for black people, it would help black people out, but you're not going to get too much attention yourself. Again, that's why race hustling is race hustling. Because these people know exactly what they're doing. If they really wanted to help black people, they would make their message about black people and give it to black people. But there's not enough ROI in doing that. That's why all your favorite race hustlers, they target their message to white people, even though they are ostensibly, they claim to be talking to black people. They're really targeting white people. Ibram X. Kendi, perfect example. His book was about and for white people. That book was not for black people. That book was for white people. That's why it blew up. So again, I ain't mad at people for doing this. Right? They see the dollar signs. That's what they're going after. So when you base your entire thought process around white people and you're black, or you're prioritizing them, that makes you the race hustler. Now, you're the one with white derangement syndrome and you're holding white people supreme. If I got this wrong, somebody let me know. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is white derangement syndrome. Number 3, too many people in general, regardless of race or background. All right, so I'm talking to everybody now. Make the mistake of thinking that other people are thinking about you a lot more than they're actually thinking about you. Again, that book that I just mentioned as a good example. Ask yourself the following question. How often are you thinking about other people, what they're doing, or how they might respond to something that you do? How often do you actually have that thought? If you're over the age of 21, you would answer honestly that you do this very seldom. If you're thinking about another person, you're thinking about your spouse or one of your kids. That's pretty much it. Maybe your business partner if you talk to them a lot. Other than that, that's it. You can count the people on your hand. Business partner of yours, your spouse, your kids, depending on how many kids you got. Most of the time, when you're thinking about things, you're thinking about yourself. What you want to do, how whatever's happening is going to affect you, and what you're going to do next for you. That's usually who you're thinking about, you. So if you think about another person, it'll probably be your spouse or your child, maybe a business partner, and anyone, and you're not really spending that much time thinking about other people. If you really think about it, how much time do you really spend thinking about other people? Not that much. And that means, just thinking about it, most people are also thinking about you just as little as you are thinking about them. Most people are just not thinking about other people. Most of us spend the majority of our days and our conscious thoughts thinking about ourselves, what we're doing, how whatever is affecting us and what we need to do next. We're usually thinking about us. Nobody's thinking about you. So when you have this white derangement syndrome, again, these race hustlers, you're doing this to keep yourself popular and relevant to your audience by emotionally manipulating your followers. These are the black race hustlers I'm talking about. You emotionally manipulate your followers, who are also black people, into thinking that white people are doing everything they do based on how they can subjugate black people, and then you come up with examples to quote unquote prove your argument. This is not happening. It's race hustling, and this is why more and more waves of race hustlers are being spawned, because they're listening to the nonsense from these people who are emotionally manipulating them. Because if it was just about logic, then this whole thing wouldn't exist. Race hustling wouldn't exist if it was about making a logical, substantial argument. It's all about making an emotional argument, which is why they are able to easily manipulate people who are easily manipulated. Often, again, the feminine energy type, whether that is an actual female or is a male who hasn't had proper masculine training. So they're open to this bullshit. Like this guy, again, he calls himself a feminist right there in the title of the book. All right, he has feminine energy. He's a feminist. A male feminist, that's the only reason feminism exists, because you got men who went along with it. And he wrote a feminine energy book to go with it. I mean, again, he put it right there in his description. I read that. I didn't make that up. All that said, everybody, let's recap today's class, which is White Derangement Syndrome. Again, I talked about Trump Derangement back in episode number 3158. This is White Derangement. Number one, some black people have been indoctrinated into believing anything that goes against white people or allegedly upsets or annoys white people, you should do it just because it gets a white person's response. This is stupid because, point number two, this is the real white supremacy. If you are making your decisions based on what is going to get the response of a white person and you are not actually white, you are a white supremacist because you are centering and pedestalizing white response over what actually best serves you, which is probably not the same thing. Number three, too many people in general, regardless of race or background, make the mistake of thinking that other people are thinking about you a lot more than they're actually thinking about you. So this guy, this black football player, writes a book about what makes white people uncomfortable. I doubt most of the readers of his book were even white. Most of them were probably black people or white liberal allies, quote unquote, who wanted to show themselves as being, quote unquote, in support of black people in their bullshit race hustling in this vapid surface level book that this guy wrote. And again, I've said this about athletes before. I can say this because I've been a pro athlete. Most athletes are not very intellectually deep. This book does not seem to have much intellectual depth. I don't want to hear what this guy has to say about anything that doesn't have to do with football. Why? Because he hasn't proven himself to have substance in anything other than football. Right? Just on that alone. Again, too many black people are bought into this because the race hustlers have sold a bunch of you on this idea, which is why I trash race hustlers, not because I'm knocking their hustle itself. I've actually, if you heard me talk about race hustlers, you hear me give them credit. I say I give them credit to their hustle because their hustle actually works. If the hustle wasn't working, I wouldn't be talking about them. It's working. What I am knocking is the fact that they call themselves helping black people when they're really not. They're really just helping themselves, and they are misleading a bunch of black people to think that this is a way of actually doing something when they're not doing shit but serving themselves. And other black race hustlers who are coming up, they know that this is the deal. They don't like when someone like me says it out loud because I'm exposing their bullshit. They just want to hop on the gravy train and get paid too, unfortunately. All that said, everybody, workonyourgameuniversity.com. You want to learn how to get yourself paid with actual substance by giving actual value to actual people who really need it and could really use it to do something positive. Unlike these bullshit artists, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com, work with me directly, and let's get to it. Work on your game. Dre all